Hey friends, happy Tuesday. I am here with you today to share another little kind of insider sneak peek into one of the strategies that I utilize in the Faster Way to Fat Loss to aid my clients in living a healthy, sustainable life while also working towards their unique goals. And oftentimes, fat loss is a big part of their goal. So I wanted to start by sharing a little bit about carbohydrates, what they are, what they do, why we need them. So here are some tips for, some kind of carb hacks for fat loss. Before I get into that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Lauren Mattingly. I have been the top Faster Way to Fat Loss coach for 2 years now, and I've been helping women and men for nearly 6 years, educating, empowering them to, really become the healthiest and happiest version of themselves through sustainable and efficient and effective nutrition and fitness strategies. So one of those strategies that we utilize in the Faster Way to Fat Loss is carb cycling. And I want to get into that and kind of explain what that is and how it is so effective for fat loss and how it can be kind of a hack for you if you are struggling with weight loss, if you are, struggling with the belly fat and insulin resistance and, things like that. But before I get into all of that, I want to tell you why carbs aren't canceled. Okay. Back when I started coaching the Faster Way, 6 years ago, when I started the Faster Way as a client, over 7 years ago, low carb diets were huge. That was all anyone was talking about. And, over the years, I've seen a lot of different kind of trendy diets come and go. And, there's certainly ones now that are kind of taking the place of that low carb or keto lifestyle, as we called it back then. But it's been around for years and years. I can even remember as a younger teenager, maybe middle school, my mom doing the Atkins diet, and all I can think of is bacon. When I think of the Atkins diet, I felt like all she ate were eggs and bacon. And so, even back then, years and years ago, there's been different kind of diets, really leveraging that low carb strategy. And I think we've really villainized carbs. And even to this day, my clients in the Faster Way are reluctant to eat as many carbohydrates as I prescribe to them through our macro tracking. When I give them their, personalized and customized plan, I get a lot of pushback from clients having been in a, long-term keto lifestyle, just really kind of stuck in those habits or old ways. And these women are literally afraid to eat carbs. They are afraid that carbohydrates are going to make them gain weight. And I've heard that over and over and over again. I can't eat this many carbs, Lauren, I'm going to gain weight. Are you sure I can eat 150 grams of carbs? Are you sure, that isn't going to cause me to, gain body fat? And so I want to kind of talk through that, because even though I don't think that the keto lifestyle is as prevalent, I think that we're starting to, as a society in general, kind of come back around to the carbs. I still feel like there's a lot of reluctancy and a lot of individuals who are scared to eat carbs. So, carbs are not the enemy. Carbs aren't canceled. They're not to be villainized. And there's many different reasons why we need carbohydrates. In fact, we call them the happy macro. because when you consume carbohydrates, they make you feel good, right? So I'm curious to know in the comments, let me know if you've tried a low carb lifestyle. Maybe you're currently eating low carb. Maybe you've tried the Atkins, and I know there's like so many different names. I can't even remember all of the names of the different types of diets, but I would love to know in the comments what you've tried, how it went. You know, if you're consuming carbs now, are you pro carbs? Are you team carbs or team no carbs? So be sure to share that with me in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys kind of think about that. You know, maybe you've tried eating low carb in the past, and you know, I think that's one of the things that we tend to gravitate to when we need to lose weight quickly, or we want to see quick results, is to just completely eliminate carbohydrates. And it might be fine and good for a while. You know, the initial response, your body's response, is to shed that water weight that you retain from consuming carbohydrates. You might feel good and energized at first, you know, excited because the weight's coming off really quickly and you feel good, you know, things are fine until they're not, right? So, you know, you hit a wall, you kind of hit a plateau where you no longer feel that energy. You're kind of moody. Your husband's like, you know, tiptoeing around you because you've become this kind of angry person. You're biting your children's head off. Your workouts might be suffering. I've even had, you know, clients who have had some major hormonal imbalances from living a long-term low carbohydrate diet. It's affected their menstrual cycle. It's affected their ability to get pregnant. So, you know, that kind of is extreme, but it does have a huge impact on your hormones, and it does play a huge role in your mood stabilization and so many other things. But one thing I didn't mention is the sustainability of it, because, you know, you have to think about whatever you're doing in order to lose weight or lose fat or change your body composition. It really needs to be something that you see yourself doing forever. And I don't see the point in trying something for a short-term period that you don't see yourself doing in 3 months or 6 months or a year from now. And as a girl who loves all things dessert, I cannot imagine ever being able to commit to eating no carbs for a long period of time. Okay, so, you know, have to think about the sustainability of what you are willing to do in order to lose the weight, because what you're willing to do to lose the weight has to be what you are willing to do to keep it off. And so that is one of the biggest things that kind of turns me away from wanting to, you know, give up an entire macronutrient, the entire food group of carbohydrates in order to lose weight, because I just don't see that being sustainable for me. Now, everyone is bio-individual. We'll talk about that in a second. One person may need X amount of carbohydrates, another person may need another. So it is so uniquely different for each person. And of course, when you get into blood sugar regulation, insulin resistance, diabetes, PCOS, thyroid conditions, all of those things, there are some, you know, variables there in terms of how many carbohydrates you should be consuming. But overall, everyone should be consuming at least, you know, some carbohydrates instead of this, you know, no carb kind of rule. Now, in the faster way, we utilize a strategy called carb cycling so that we can kind of get the best of both worlds. We really want to leverage the benefits of the keto low carb lifestyle without the negative side effects that come from being in a low carb lifestyle long term. So basically, carb cycling is a variation of your carbohydrate intake. there is a variation between lower carb days and higher carb days. And even on the lower carb days, we're not saying don't eat any carbs, okay? We still want to really emphasize the importance of getting 25 grams of fiber as a woman. And guess what? Fiber are carbs, okay? And so eliminating entire food groups like vegetables and fruits, things that God created for us to consume, is not something that we would ask you to do, or that I would ask you to do. But kind of varying your carbohydrate intake has many benefits. We get to leverage, like I said, the benefits of the low carb lifestyle and kind of the metabolic flexibility that comes with that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But then we get to reintroduce those carbohydrates in later on in the week and kind of replenish those glycogen stores that are there for us to have easy to access energy, which is also very, very important. So when we, on low carb days, when we are reducing the amount of carbohydrates that we are consuming, the body is able to utilize fat as an energy source. So instead of always burning glycogen or glucose or stored carbohydrates, however you want to say that, instead of going to that energy source to burn or to burn energy or grab energy, we're able to tap into our fat stores for energy, which makes us more metabolically flexible. It allows us to transition from being sugar burners to fat burners. And majority of us are always burning glycogens, pulling from that energy source. And it makes burning fat really difficult, okay? So this is kind of how we leverage those lower carbohydrate intakes throughout the week. We are able to tap into our fat stores. The other really important part of this is it improves insulin resistance and it helps us to manage our blood sugar. So what happens when we are consuming food is in response to our blood sugar elevating, which is a normal response to eating foods, particularly carbohydrates, our bodies produce insulin. And anytime insulin is present in the body, you're actually not going to be burning fat because insulin is our fat storing hormone. So instead of burning fat, we are storing it. So on these lower carb days, we're able to kind of manipulate our body's energy sources and tap further into fat stores for energy, which is just a really cool little hack to have whenever you're trying to manage your weight loss or fat loss. And then when we reintroduce carbohydrates back in on our higher carb days, we're able to have the energy we need in order to really crush our workouts, to feel happy, to stabilize our mood, to stabilize our hormones, to protect our thyroid. So there's many, many reasons why we need carbohydrates in our life. And as I mentioned, fiber is a big part of that. And fiber helps in so many ways to regulate your blood sugar, improve your insulin sensitivity, to help manage weight loss, especially as we get into perimenopause and beyond. That becomes a really key ingredient. So as I mentioned, it's helping us to improve insulin resistance and manage our blood sugar, which is one of the most important things in terms of fat loss that you can focus on, because it plays such a big part. Again, when insulin is high, you're storing fat instead of burning it. So we're kind of manipulating that. Now, that doesn't mean that, it's a free-for-all when it comes to carbohydrates. We're very, we are making sure that we are eating enough of the right foods at the right times for the right reasons. That's where macro tracking comes in to play. And so we're managing our carbohydrate intake instead of, completely getting rid of it or just, over consuming. I was an over consumer. Before I started the Faster Way, I pretty much ate all carbs and no protein. And a lot of women This is kind of the opposite side of keto, but a lot of women are, significantly under consuming their protein needs and way over consuming carbohydrates. So, you can be on either end of the spectrum and really benefit from a carb cycling approach. You can benefit from the macro tracking approach that we also utilize in order to make sure that we're eating enough of the right foods. So it's not that we don't put emphasis on the amount of carbohydrates you're consuming, but we do want to be sure that you're eating enough. And it's either, we've over-consumed them or we are afraid of them. There's both ends of the spectrum that I see. Now, with carb cycling, we emphasize the importance of eating enough protein, and that really helps us to maintain our lean muscle mass while maximizing fat loss. So our strategies, including the carb cycling, have been clinically proven to do just that. And if you're really looking for something that is the best case scenario, it is that you are able to burn fat while simultaneously building muscle. That together is a recipe for a maximized metabolism, for sustainable fat loss, and for longevity. So anyways, this is just one ingredient of our fat loss recipe that I really, really think is super fun and effective to utilize. Now, as I said, everyone's a bio-individual. Everyone's needs are different. For each individual client that comes to the Faster Way, I customize their programming and their macros in order to ensure that they are getting the appropriate amount of carbohydrates for their specific needs. It is not cookie cutter, as I've seen people say on the internet. It is truly a personalized and customized approach. There are ways for you to track macros, free. There are free apps, but what I do is I get to take that information and take it a step further and really make sure that you are eating the right amount, specifically carbohydrates, which can vary from person to person. Also, the types of carbohydrates matters. All carbs are not created equal, okay? I love a piece of cake and a cookie and a brownie and a donut as much as anyone else. But the way that that type of carbohydrate impacts your body is very different than the way a complex carbohydrate impacts your body. So your fiber-containing fruits and vegetables, your potatoes, maybe some rice, quinoa. Some people can handle gluten-free oats. So the types of carbohydrates are a really important piece of this, and one that also helps to regulate and manage your blood sugar and your insulin response. And how you pair your carbohydrates with the proteins, the fat, and the fiber, that is all part of learning how to eat a balanced diet. So again, we want to make sure that along with carb cycling, you're eating adequate amounts of protein. You're eating enough fiber, so those carbohydrates are coming from sources that contain a significant amount of fiber, and we're also consuming enough healthy fats. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Again, please leave in the comments below if you've ever tried a low carb, some type of keto lifestyle, whether it was the Atkins in 20 years ago. I even saw someone a couple days ago share that they were eating Atkins bars, and I was like, wow, that's still a thing. So I would love to know what you've tried and how that impacted you. If you're team no carbs, I want to know in the comments. If you are team carbs, let me know that in the comments as well. It's nice to kind of know where you guys stand. on this approach. But carb cycling, again, is one of the ingredients in our fat loss recipe in the Faster Way that has helped thousands of men and women really just leave their healthiest, happiest, strongest, most energized, leanest selves, be their leanest selves. And I would love to extend the opportunity to you to be able to try this strategy alongside our community in the new year. My next new client round of the Faster Way, it's a 6-week program, starts on January 1st. And I know we're a few weeks out from that, and I want you to thoroughly enjoy the holidays, but I want to let you know that if you register now, you get immediate access to the Faster Way app. So you can start utilizing our wonderful resources within the app, including our on-demand workouts, our delicious meal guides, hundreds of recipes from our recipe library, tons of additional resources to help you get started, or just enjoy utilizing our workouts for the month of December before we officially dive into the meat of our 6-week new client curriculum starting on January 1st. If you would like for me to be your coach, if you would like to join the January 1st round, please send me a DM or drop a comment below, and I'd love to reach out to you and share more information. Of course, that link is always going to be in my bio for you guys to access at your convenience. And then I also wanted to just extend an opportunity for you guys to try out carb cycling. So if you will, put the word carb in the comments below. I am going to send you guys a free sample meal guide, and whether you know it or not, if you follow that meal guide, you'll be carb cycling. So it might just be a great way for you to kind of test out that strategy and see what it's all about. It has certainly been a strategy that I love for myself, and I love teaching it to my clients. It provides lots of flexibility, and it also is very sustainable. No foods are off limits for us in the Faster Way. There's no yes or no foods. There's no good or bad. I kind of like to stick with the sometimes and the maybe foods. And for me, the sometimes and the always foods are going to be the sweet potatoes and the rice and the beans and the vegetables and all the fruits. And then the sometimes foods are those foods that I also enjoy, but knowing that my body doesn't respond as well, they don't make me feel as good, but they're so fun to eat, like the desserts. So this is a great way to kind of feel like you have control over your carbohydrates. We're managing them, but that you also have flexibility in your lifestyle to enjoy all the foods that you love, within reason. So anyhow, hope this was helpful. Again, if you would like to test out one of the Faster Way meal guides that incorporates carb cycling, just drop the word carbs below and I will send that straight to your inbox. And of course, if you have any questions today, please feel free to also leave those for me, and I will grab those after I share this video to my page. It will be here for you if you'd like to go back and listen, if you are just hopping on. And I hope you guys have a wonderful